Hi guys, welcome to another video. This one is the last in my series on tournaments because this video is all about the tournament I actually went to. This was on Saturday the 21st of March, that's 2015 if you're watching this in the future. And long story short, I did pretty well. I ended up coming second and I went unbeaten in the entire tournament. So what happened was I won two of them and I drew one. And the person who actually came first was a good friend of mine who I actually drove down to the tournament itself. It was his first ever tournament, so it's pretty funny. So yeah, we both drove there and basically did the double and walked away with all the all the top positions there. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, he actually won all his games. Although having said that, I actually got more game points from each game. So if we had have tied on points at any tournament points at any point, then I would have actually ended up first. So it's pretty funny. So yeah, I'm very pleased with the performance my army actually did. You can see the entire model range I took before you. You can see how a lot of it is unpainted despite my best efforts. That's because a lot of stuff came up. I never get as much time for painting as I'd like, and usually what happens is when I do have time for painting, I'm just not in the mood, so it's one of those things. But yeah, I did a lot of painting on my difficult assassins. They are in the middle, just behind the troops. At the front is the two sets of troops. You see my army lists, so it's all there, but you can see the dreadnoughts that I used as penitent engines at the back. Again, I didn't have time to make the models because they take so long to put together. No one actually minded at all, which is great. People seem to like the Celestine conversion, which was nice. Funnily enough, that's one of the easiest conversions I've ever done, so there you go. But yeah, let's get into the actual tournament itself then. So I take this list, combined arms detachment of course. I'd had a lot of test games and it was unbeaten in the test games. However, having said that, I only had one test game with the difficult assassins, so it was a bit of a risk, and even in that test game they didn't really do anything except hold up a death dread because they couldn't actually hurt it. So after that I actually went back, tweaked with the points a little bit, and ended up putting a shotgun on every single priest, and melter bombs on one of the priests in that squad. So because of that, then at least they had some anti-tank ability as well. So yeah, let's get into it. So here was the first army I played against. It was Orcs, which was very lucky because this is allocated by random draw. And yeah, a lot of my test games have been against Orcs, and Orcs versus Sisters is generally a bad matchup for Orcs anyway. Now, having said that, it was a very strange Orc army in the fact that I actually outnumbered him. He'd gone very elite with two battle wagons, which are the trucks. The guys in yellow armour are mega knobs, and you know he had a lot of elite units and basically some looters for shooting. His troops were basically just two squads of Gretchen, and yeah, we were doing the diagonal deployment, which I believe is called Vanguard Strike, and the first mission was just purge the alien, so straight up kill points. He actually got the first turn, but I managed to seize, so that was a good start. And then I wasn't even sure I actually wanted to seize, but you know, I did it on the off chance, and there you go. So what happened was I went forward, I just moved everything forward. I fired the Exorcist at I believe one of the battle wagons, but it didn't do anything. I put both my rhinos on one flank and just charged them forward towards the Gretchen and to the looters at the back field. I went full on speed because I needed to kill those at the back. What was it? Funnily enough, on his turn, he got out his mega knobs in the yellow armour with all the power claws and things, and decided to charge penitent engines, and that was a mistake because, of course, the penitent engines get the overwatch of 6 heavy flamers, so that did a few wounds and casualties. And then, of course, they're striking at initiative 3 instead of initiative 1 like the Orcs. because of their power claws, and there you go, they just wiped the squad in one turn. So I got first blood that way and a victory point for killing a unit. So that was a mistake, and after that he did kill some units, but then the difficult assassins went in. The Seraphim basically took the brunt of the charge, which is what I always want to happen. And yeah, the difficults went in and cleaned up, and then Celestine and the Seraphim that were left and the Penitent Engines just ran rampant, basically. The Lisas in Gretchen did not last long against all the Flamers. And yeah, I ended up tabling him in turn 3. And yeah, so it was a good start. I think the final score was 13. I got 13 victory points, and he got... oh no, sorry, I got 11 victory points, and he got about 3. So, pretty good. Confident first start for me, and I was lucky to get the Orcs, to be honest. Max himself was actually a very tactical player. Quite young, obviously, but you know that's no measure of ability. He knew what he was doing. So yeah, pretty good so far. Okay, so after lunch was the second round, and I was, well, basically we kind of knew the entrants who we would likely face up against, because who'd done equally well in the kind of games, and I knew I had an option of one of 4 different armies that I would face, and out of the 4 of them, this army that I ended up facing was the one I wanted to face the most. Although most people didn't like it, I knew I'd be able to handle it at least. So basically what it was a Space Wolves formation with 6 Dreadnoughts, and the Warlord was in fact a Dreadnought, a Vindicator, 3 of the Dreadnoughts are in drop pods, and then he had some allies in the form of 7 Fire Warriors, Dark Strider, and a Tau Riptide. So, you know, on the surface, quite a lot of shooting, the close combat ability from the Dreadnoughts, you know, Vindicator protect the back lines, which is exactly what happened. I actually lost the role to choose when to go, but he wanted me to go first, so I ended up going first. What was it? And this was traditional long table edge deployment. I can't remember the name. So because of that, I basically castled up in one corner because of those drop pods, and I wanted to make sure that if he wanted to get close or some funky angles, he'd basically need to risk them scattering off. As it turned out, it didn't really matter too much anyway. I moved the Seraphim forward to head towards the relic, and this was my mistake. I should have put them directly in front of the relic, and they could have flown out and got it first turn. That was a big mistake, because that's exactly what he did with his Riptide. And after that, I basically had to try and kill the Riptide to get down. Now, the only other thing I did here was leave Celestine out of the Seraphim, and again, maybe I shouldn't have done that, but my plan was I needed something to kill those Fire Warriors at the back, because they were his only objective secured troops. So that's what she did. She deep struck in and eventually flamed them, so it was pretty good. Vindicator I killed with crack grenades. Eventually I just kind of ignored it. What is it? Yeah, the Penitent Engines did well at not only clearing out the Dreadnoughts that came in, but clearing out the drop pods in my deployment zone as well. The difficult assassins tied up his HQ Warlord, which is the one with the claw. I don't know its name, I'm sorry, I don't know enough about Space Wolves for that. So yeah, they tied him up in combat until the Penitent Engines could get in there and finish the job. The Riptide itself ended up dying to the Exorcist, I believe, and the Dominions came in, killed his Dreadnoughts in the backfield, and had... what was it? They got tied up by one Dreadnought for a ridiculously long time, so I was quite unlucky there. At the end of the game, he had dropped... the Riptide was dead, the Relic was on the floor in his deployment zone. He had First Blood, and he got Slay the Warlord. I had Slay the Warlord and Linebreaker, so it ended up being a draw. I had a unit of Dominions parked on top of the relic. All I needed was one more turn for them to get out, but of course it didn't go on for another turn, so I was very unlucky there. Celestine had been right near it when she died. She only needed to make a 2-up armor save to survive, but of course I failed it. If the Dominions had have rolled a single 6 to glance the Dreadnought, in 20 dice rolled. If I'd rolled a single 6, I would have had time to get to the relic and would have won. So it was one of those games really where it's just everything just didn't want to work out in that sense, and there's nothing you can do about that really. It happens. It happens a lot in tournaments, it seems, but you know, it happens. But you know, it was a very good game, and at the end of the game he had a single dreadnought left on the table with 2 hull points, so I was pretty close to tabling him at least. In one more turn and I would have done that too, so yeah, I'm confident in my performance. Any other day I would have won that game, so but I'll take a draw because again, I was unbeaten, so pretty good. He was a very good general. He knew what he was doing. He knew how to like how to work the different types of dreadnoughts, like the close combo ones and stuff. He knew about the distraction and stuff, and it was well done on him to notice that the Riptide could get to the relic when I should have noticed that the Seraphim could. That's my fault because I haven't played the relic for a very long time, so I'll remember for next time. But yeah, the reason his army didn't do so well against mine is because it actually used similar tactics to my own, so I recognised that ahead of time. I don't think he had the same luxury because, again, I was playing Sisters of Battle. It's much harder to recognise that kind of thing when you don't know the army in question. So yeah, it was pretty good, and we went through to the next round. Alright, so third round was against a guy called Simon. He was actually playing another combination. It was Eldar with Space Wolf allies. Now, sadly, I didn't take a picture of this army. I completely forgot. So this picture here is of him playing against another opponent. He's the guy in blue. His army was a Spirit Seer with some Wraithguard in a Wave Serpent. Of course, it had the +1 cover upgrade. He had a squad of 6 jet bikes with 2 shuriken cannons. He had 2 units of 3 Thunderwolves. There was some Storm Shields in there, and he had 2 units of Long Fangs with missile launchers and las cannons and all that fancy jazz. And he also had 2 Rune Priests, so quite a lot of psychic support as well. A lot of firepower. Relatively small model count. So setup, I knew it was going to be tough, but I was glad I'd brought some Difficult Assassins because they are perfect for dealing with Thunderwolf Cavalry. This mission was, let me just try and remember. Oh yeah, it was the Scouring, so the fast attack are worth victory points if they die, and that's actually kind of what made this battle a lot harder because I had 3 fast attack choices in there, and he only had 2. At the end of the game, we'd both killed each other's. And I actually won the game 13-6, but it came down to turn 7, and a single jet bike contesting the 4-point objective, and I had it in close combat, but I just could not kill it. My rolls were bad, his rolls were good, so in the end I finally managed to kill it, but it took a lot. He didn't actually have much left on the table, as it was. As I understand it, he had a single Rune Priest and about 3 Long Fangs left, other than that jet bike, and that was it. So I managed to kill more or less everything. I got Line Breaker, and I believe I actually got First Blood in this one, so it's like the first time I got First Blood. Ah, that's right, yes, he had 3 Lone Wolves, that's it, and I killed one of those first for First Blood. So my tactic here was basically to just move up as usual. Send the flamers to the troops. The penitent engines on one flank behind the Seraphim, that they could get up to the Long Fangs that were closest to kill them, but also because I need a Thunderwolf Cavalry would go for them, and then the penitent engines could deal with that. On the other flank I sent a unit of troops and a Rhino, and with them followed the Difficult Assassins, and of course they got in 2, so that was nice. Didn't actually move around much in this game, as it turned out, because of the way things worked. I had to kind of stay where I was, holding the objectives as best I could. That's kind of unusual in a Eternal War mission, but that's just how it ended up working out. So even though it was a very, very close and tense game, it was really enjoyable. As I say, it could have really gone either way at the end, but I think I think from the way it was going, like, if the game had ended earlier, I would have won as well. So I think I was on top for most of the game, but that doesn't always happen. I know that much. So yeah, I ended up getting 2 pretty big wins and then a draw, which was very close. So any other day I could have done better, but that's how it ended up, and it's fine. As I say, my friend was the one who won, so I'm very, very happy for him. It's a shame we didn't play each other, but at the same time, I'm glad we didn't play each other, just because, you know, we can play each other anytime. So you want to play some new opponents. The guy who came third was playing Tyranids, and he was playing 3 Hive Tyrants with wings. Harpy is it? The other flying monstrous creature, and then like a bunch of gaunts as troops, and then some other nasty shooting things and some Ripper Swarms. You know, not massively revolutionary, but you know, he was doing really well. He's only beaten by the guy who came first, so you know, at least he won that. And I was just going to touch on this briefly. It was I kept paying attention, obviously, to how he was doing, you know, in his games and stuff. And every game he played was really, really close, down to the wire, against some pretty crazy combinations. And what basically won him every time was he was just holding on and he was playing to the mission. Like he'd have maybe 4 models left, but he'd just done enough to get that victory, and yeah, it makes all the difference. So even though it looked like he was losing all the time, he hung in there. He stayed focused, and you know, played to the mission. And that's what worked. You see, so if nothing else from this tournament, you know, hopefully I've proved that, you know, good old-fashioned combined arms detachments can still hold their own. Sisters can still hold their own. I already knew that. I don't need to be convinced of that. But you know, just in case you're unsure of the power level of things yet, could have easily won this tournament. Could have easily happened. So yeah, that's basically it. Hopefully this is enjoyable. Hopefully you got some insights into things. I'm sorry there isn't like more of a detailed overlook, but you know how busy a tournament is. People are rushing around everywhere, that kind of thing. So you know, I couldn't really sit around and take pictures of them as best I could, and then of course I forgot anyway afterwards because I'm an idiot. So yeah, hopefully it's been enjoyable and useful, and I will see you again soon for more tactical videos. Thanks for watching.